Well, yeah.
Treat me like the black man I am, Freeze. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying over here. I mean, shit.
But it is interesting, and I know we're a little off topic. I agree with you, right? I think it was one of those situations where in order to have our first Black president, he had to be pristine, right? Mm-hmm. So he couldn't have lower than a 790 credit score. He couldn't have a late pay. The only thing that they could find on him that they tried to create something out of, right, was legitimately this birth certificate issue, which was foolishness, and the fact that he smoked cigarettes. I mean, they were trying to find so much, and it wasn't, and he had to be perfect. And then what you saw, right, when you look at privilege and what privilege does for you, his successor was divorced 3 times, bankrupt 6 or 7 times, had multiple affairs, had just the morality of a gnat, and was able to win the presidency of the United States. And I think that's the point that G's making, that if Clarence Thomas was a Black man,
right,
this would have never allowed him to be on the Supreme Court, because there's a notion that you have to be excellent. There's no space for you to do anything, even good things, if they want to deem you to be not worthy.
Yep. And speaking of where, like you said, you have to be excellent and like blemish free. Speaking of this, Brian Flores, Miami head coach, who had 2 winning seasons.
Miami Dolphins. Yeah, Miami Dolphins. For those of you who don't know, Freeze is talking about the NFL. Miami Dolphins.
Right. He's suing the NFL for discrimination and racism, which he should. He's not going to work in the league again, but he should, because like you said before, we are always held to a higher standard. And, you have to be twice as good as the lowest other person. You always have to reach farther and reach higher and have a much better background or a much better lifestyle than another person that's going for the same position.
So not to cut you off, Freeze, that's what we were always taught.
Yep.
That's interesting. Reason I interrupt you, that's what our generation, our generation and people older than us, that's what we were always taught. I actually feel like this generation doesn't think that that's the case. So they actually get upset when they are not chosen based off ability and merit, and they kind of lose it. Meanwhile, we sit back and go, what was you expecting?
Right. That's because
in the Flores case, right, you have him suing the NFL and suing multiple teams, alleging that, one, obviously they're not colluding against him in a Kaepernick sense, but the NFL has a rule, it's the Rooney Rule, right, which says that the teams have to interview, is it just one minority coach?
I think it's at least one. It may be more than one, but it's at least one.
They have to interview at least one minority head coach, or I believe it's head coach. And so we know what that looks like, right? These mandates happen. And what we see happen is you see Black coaches who are qualified and are doing on winning teams, right? Most of the Buccaneers staff that won the Super Bowl championship, I think their offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator were both Black.
Yep.
Right. But none of them got invited to an interview, even though they were Super Bowl winning champions. Right. And so what you see is teams are like, okay, we got to have a Black person in the mix. So we'll bring them down and we'll interview them, even though we've already made our decision just to meet this rule. And his allegations were, one, you wasted my fucking time. So I agree.
Yep.
But 2, you're actually violating the rule because you have no intentions on hiring me. I think the more explosive allegations is he went and did a good job and had 2 winning seasons and was asked allegedly by the owner, Stephen Ross, who has some really interesting ties to Michigan as this billionaire, to tank the season so they can get a better draft pick, which he declined to do. And his allegations that he's not being punished for it because he did the right thing.
Yep. And the thing that's crazy is when you just said that, look at all the winning head coaches who were Black and who were fired. Lovie Smith, winning seasons. Caldwell, winning season. Flores, winning season. you know, a lot of this, you know, and the people like, well, I'm like, I said, name a white guy who had a winning season and got fired. Just name one.
Well, hold up. Jim and Lovey didn't finish on winning seasons. They're
Yes,
overall.
Lovey did. Lovey finished the season. He didn't hit the playoffs. He had 10-6, G.
Okay.
All right.
Well, all right. Well, but they didn't make it to playoffs. So
yeah, same thing with Caldwell. Caldwell didn't make it to playoffs, but he had a winning season, 9-7.
That's true. They did finish.
I've been waiting for those.
Yeah, I know. But that goes back to what you just said.
Mm-hmm. Gotta be twice as good.
There you go. And if you are aware, that doesn't mean that it's right, but it is a fact. And if you're not, then they will utilize that to act you. I think what's more telling, not the fact that they've been fired after winning seasons. Mm-hmm. To me, what is more telling is the fact that you can't name one Black coach. I was trying to think, maybe Art Shell, mm-hmm. who was relieved of their duties as a head coach that became a head coach again.
Dennis, Denny Green. He got fired from Minnesota and got hired for Arizona.
It's a couple.
That was the only two.
You got Tony Dungy too.
Oh, Dungy, that's right, Dungy too.
Yeah, but the point I'm trying to make is
not awful.
Rex Ryan and people like that, they done been fired 4-5 damn times, and they be up for every coaching gig again. I mean, yeah, seriously, like, and then
I also think, like, the important thing too here is that these coaches that do get these opportunities, are they getting opportunities on teams that have historically good outcomes? Or are they going into shit, getting shit, and then when they deliver a little bit better than shit, that shit just ain't good enough?
I like that.
Right. So that's what, right. So Caldwell comes into the Lions and has a historically losing franchise, and all of a sudden they want to win, and he's not doing a good enough job. But then they ride out with Patricia. How many years was Patricia here?
He's there 3 or 4.
With the 3 or 4, right?
He might have been 4.
And he couldn't win, couldn't pull it off. Mm-hmm. But that's what it is, right? Did Miami, when the Dolphins hired him, they didn't have a winning season when he came in. Nope. They didn't even expect him to do that well. I would say most of these teams are at the bottom there, and they're like, okay, fine. We ain't doing nothing else. Let's give it to a Black person. At least we can say we tried it once.
Right.
And then when they don't succeed because they're maybe not given the pieces that they need to, it's like, well, we did it once and we don't have to, with the exception of maybe the Steelers. That may not be the case with Mike Tomlin.
That's good. And listen, that's because the Steelers are franchise and believe in loyalty, and he's winning. He hasn't had a losing season yet. So but he's always had Roethlisberger too. See what happens when he has to go in and build a quarterback. And see how they respond in that way. Obviously, he lost his Hall of Fame quarterback, his backup quarterback. Who is it? Mason Rudolph.
Rudolph. Mm-hmm. And then I think they have Dwayne Haskins there too. Neither one of them are probably going to go where they need their team to be. So they'll probably try to do something in free agency. But look how loyal the Rooneys are when they don't have a Hall of Fame quarterback. I would be interested to see what that looks like.
I would be interested, but of any other team except the Steelers, because the Steelers only had 3 head coaches in the past 50 years.
Yeah, I can't. I won't jump on that one, Dandridge. I think the Steelers.
I didn't say it's guaranteed. I said let's just see.
Well, so let me say this.
And they've also been a winning franchise too.
Well,
the Steelers has, was it six Super Bowls?
Yep, 6 bird.
Yeah,
in 50 years, they haven't had to struggle like the Lions. Let them go 1-16 or whatever, 1-15 next year and see what happens.
Well, but I'm saying they've had some down seasons, and typically a African American.
They've had winning seasons though. He's never had a losing season.
Right.
All I'm saying is, typically an African American coach like Mike Tomlin would not have survived this long.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
They would have already decided to move on.
That's true. Like what they did with Lovie Smith. Lovie Smith took them to the Super Bowl 2 years before, and he had a 10-6 season, but they missed the playoffs and they fired him. Picked up someone else and they didn't make the playoffs. How can you get, like I said, as a black man, a black coach that is winning? He took y'all to the Super Bowl, lost to another black man in the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? I still think that was a great Super Bowl because we've had black quarterbacks, but that was the first time we ever had two black head coaches battling in the Super Bowl. And that's crazy. And that was some years ago. And it's like, damn. And now we only have, like you said, right now in the NFL, one black head coach. This is ridiculous.
That's the way it's looking. It's going to end up being.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And especially, and like they said the other day, people talk how great Kellen is as an offensive coordinator. No one's talking about Eric Bieniemy. You know what I'm saying? They're not talking about, they are talking to what you call about being a head coach. In fact, it is another head coach. Byron, didn't he sign with the Jaguars?
No, that's not. So they put that was out there. The Jacksonville Jaguars have not named the head coach yet. And Freeze, I can't, just for the accuracy of the argument, they have Eric Bieniemy's name has been out there, but I have a theory. I think that Eric Bieniemy has decided that one, he's not just going to take any job, so he's not set up for failure. And two, I think that there may be a promise at Kansas City because Andy Reid ain't coaching no whole lot longer.
Yeah, gotcha.
So I have because my point is, you don't go from being a hot commodity up for all these jobs, right, and not get like he's interviewed, but this cycle he wasn't even really interested in interviewing.
Yeah, and I hope that's the case. I hope that's the case.
I'm not saying it is. I just think what I'm saying is otherwise he would have been hired by now.
Well, would he?
The reason I say that, the reason I say that he would have been is because, hate to say this, we're gonna clean it up for the thing. They pick is one hot brother a year. One hot brother, one hot coordinator, one hot brother every couple of years, right? Yeah. And they make sure that one hot brother at least gets a job. He has been the hot brother and he hadn't gotten a job. So that leads me to believe that there might be, maybe the first go around, no, it was probably just blackness. Right. To go back to my main man, darkness. Right. That's probably all it was in that regard. But in subsequent years, when he actually backed out of some spot, like they asked him to come in for another interview, he said, "No, I'm good. I'm not interested." So that would lead me to believe that he's either said, "Hey, look, I know that if I go to this job, Houston, Texas, I'm set up for failure. Right. So there's no reason for me to just put my head on the chopping block, Houston, Texas, and take a job where they don't value me as a black person, Houston, Texas, or as an individual who can move this franchise to the next level, Houston, Texas." So I think he has just decided, I'm going to wait.
And which is a very smart decision to make. Very smart. You know what I'm saying? Because that's another thing too. I think we take whatever they give us instead of selecting the best spot for us. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, those millions be calling your name. I'm sorry. If you finna offer me 20 million, 30 million to coach a squad, and I got to coach the Jaguars, hey, I'm going to take that 20, 30 million and do what I got to do. But thank God that he has a little bit of integrity of realizing what he's worth and realizing he's not going to go into a spot where he's set up for failure. That's smart.
Well, I guess to your point, though, it all depends on what stage you are in your life from a coaching. True. So David Culley, who took the job at the Houston Texans, for instance, David Culley is older, right? So the likelihood of him having an opportunity to become a head coach again is probably slim to none, even though it was probably not the best situation to go into. So yeah, for David Culley at 62, I don't know if he's 62, but I'm just using that as an example. I know he's older, but at 62 and having coached in the NFL for 20 odd years or so, he'll go take that job. And if he doesn't do well or they decide to fire him, he overachieved as well this year, but they decide to fire him. Well, now he is sitting pretty. He I ain't made $17 million in my whole career, and that's what they owe me now.
True.
Right?
True.
Now, for Eric Bieniemy's case, a younger individual